after that first attempt on him, he starts coming around with this kid, like I was telling you, showing him the ropes. He shows him the coffee shop, and he introduces him to a couple of my friends that I grew up with. And he gravitates towards this faction of the kids I grew up with. And I mean, we all grew up together. We all hang out in the coffee shop, and they became close. And not so much with the guy who brought him around with him about the machine so much, but about these other kids. So there was this kid Fabio, for example, who ends up telling on him. He gravitates towards him, and they like each other, and like Fabio comes from an extremely huge organized crime background, so he felt comfortable, I guess, with me as well, or anybody else, not knowing what would happen eventually. And a lot of guys flipped, but there's also a lot of guys that didn't. But they got close, and they got into a little bit more serious stuff. You got to remember, he was 5 years to even 5 years to 7 to 8 years older than the average guys that were hanging out in his coffee shop.
And the coffee shop you're referring to, this is Cafe Giannini.
Yeah, yes.
And Fabio was Fabio Bartolotta. His family actually owned that building, right? Where the shop was.
As I recall, his mom did, yeah.
Okay.
But she didn't, it was a business. She rented it. They get together, they do whatever, they're into stuff at the time, robbing machines or getting, a little bit too close in a lot of ways. They were feeling each other out, but they got close. And that's where eventually they get into bigger stuff that we hear about. And one of the first is a double homicide that takes place, which is Rusi and Pegnazzi.